Hello everyone. Our today's presentation is titled Novel Treatments of Household Wastewater for Reuse. My name is Obeja Maxwell. I'm an environmental and water quality expert from Department of Physics, Environmental Geophysics option, Covenant University of Ogun State, Nigeria. These are my email addresses. 2 weeks ago, we put you through the wastewater treatment where the source water came from highly contaminated materials such as tissue papers, degraded cloths, pads, and don't know what not that contaminated the wastewater. The treatment process took a different dimension. Today we're going to look at household wastewater, how it can be reused for the same purpose. We titled it Novel Treatment of Household Wastewater for Reuse because the water that is coming from the washing machine, coming from the kitchen basins, coming from the bedroom, coming down through this way, coming down through this way, coming down through this way. With the help of gravity, it can be pushed, coming to this point. You decide if you want to reuse it for the same purpose or if you want to use it for consumption in the house. So these are the two aspects or the two parts we're going to take this moment. So if you want to use the water for the same washing purposes, you close this valve down here, you open this valve, the water will come to this point. This is the storage tank. Then addition of flocculants in this point, such as aluminum sulfate, will help to assemble the detergent that have been used in washing at this point. Then after the aluminum sulfate, flocculants will take place, followed by sedimentation. The sedimentation will now sediment all the assembled flocks within the base. Thereafter, 1 horsepower will now push the water coming to this single filter that is partitioned into 3. The sand part will remove turbidity and remove particles that are from 5 microns and above. It will come down to activated carbon. Activated carbon will remove color, taste, and odor, and remove residual detergents that will have been remain here after the addition of aluminum sulfate that's supposed to assemble those detergents. The remaining ones can be handled by activated carbon. Then gravel will improve the quality. Then at this point, water sample will take place. pH and TDS will be tested to know if it is within the range of quality water. Then thereafter, the water will now come to this point and can be reused for washing machine to wash our clothes. It can be reused again in the kitchen to wash our plates. It can be reused again in the bedroom to wash our clothes, to bath, to flush toilets, and to brush our teeth. So that's how it will keep on recycling over and over again. Instead of wasting the water, you can be reusing it year in, year out. This is the storage point. On the other hand, if we still want to use it for consumption, the first thing we will do is to close this valve here, which takes the water for reuse in washing. You close the valve, then the water will now be allowed to infiltrate into this point. This is an artificial canal or pond or pit we would have dug behind our houses. The water will be infiltrated. The reason for infiltration is to help the wastewater from these sources to be improved, because the soil is a filter too. So the soil will help to filter the water and now store the water in this reservoir here, that is the artificial canal. So from this reservoir here, the water will now be termed as groundwater. So the treatment process will now take the shape of groundwater by pumping the water out of this canal. Then the first thing is to sample the water to know the possible constituents so that we will handle it along the flow here. So after sampling and knowing the possible constituents in the water here, then the water will now be allowed to first of all pass through aeration. Why do we use aeration? The reason why we use aeration is that water coming from the ground is assumed to constitute dissolved iron and manganese, high content of carbon dioxide and other organic constituents, of which this sampling here should be able to tell us what this water is constituted with. So once the water comes into this aeration, the oxygen content in the air will remove dissolved iron and manganese. It will precipitate it. It will precipitate carbon dioxide. It will precipitate hydrogen sulfide if they are there as some of the organic constituents. Thereafter, the addition of flocculants such as aluminum sulfate and sedimentation will come in to be able to assemble the detergent used in washing here. At the end of the day, the water will now be pushed with the help of this 1 horsepower. Move it to this point. You close these 2 valves here. You take sample here to test for TDS, pH, and the alkalinity. After taking the sample and everything is in order, you close these 2 valves and open these 2 valves. The water will now come in through this way and pass through the sand. Passing through the sand the sand will remove turbidity. It will remove particles that are from 5 microns and above. Then the water will now flow through this way, comes to this point. You close these 2 valves, you take sample here, you test for turbidity, pH, alkalinity, and total organic carbon. If everything is in order, the water will now be allowed. You open these 2 valves and close this. You close these 2 valves and open these 2 valves. The water comes in into this filter. This is activated carbon. Activated carbon removes color, taste, and odor, and it as well enhances the removal of detergents that probably was not dealt with here. Then this is where everything will be completed. After the activities of the activated carbon by removing or helping in enhancing the removal of detergents, then the purified water will now come to the UV light. The UV light will sterilize the water. In most cases, we suggest UV light that is within the range of 200 to 225 nanometer because of its effectiveness in disinfection, and it's safer. So the water will now come to this point. You close this valve, you open this valve, and take samples here. You consider the microbial load to be sure that it's free from microbes, and as well the other parameters, pH, to be sure that it's within the range of 7.2 to 8.5. If everything is in order, you close this valve and open this valve. Then this 0.2 micron filter will remove the debris that will have been coming from this point. Instead of pushing it here, this will do the work of filtering or trapping the debris. Thereafter, the purified water will now come into this tank, and opening this valve, it will be distributed all over the house for consumption. Now, what is the advantage of this? The advantage of this is that the water can be used for washing, recycled for washing, and the water can be used for consumption, moving this way, passing through these processes for consumption. Now, what you'll be doing on daily basis is to be sure that these two filters, sound filter and activated carbon filter, are backwashed regularly. How do you backwash? Remember, for normal flow, you close these two valves and open these two valves. But for backwashing, you will close these two valves and open these two valves. So instead of the water flowing this way, it will flow from down, steer the bed, and push the debris that will have been trapped here to coming to this point. You close these two valves, you open this valve, the debris will be pouring on the floor here. You will do it for a bit, for 5 to 10 minutes. The same thing applicable to this place. You close this valve here, so the water coming here, instead of flowing normal, you will now close these two valves here. These two valves here will be closed. Then you open these two valves here. The water will now come in through this way, steer the bed, flush it towards backward means, and now push the debris out here. Then you close this valve here so that it will not push the water into this, the dirty water into this. It will now be flushed to this place. Between 5 and 10 minutes, the backwashing will have been finished. The bed will look very fresh, purified, and neat for normal filtration purpose to be doing on daily basis. So if everything is done properly, backwashing regularly, ensuring that the canal is properly protected so that birds will not defecate from this point to introduce contaminants at this point. So if everything is in order, then that's how you will be reusing your water that you have been wasting on daily basis. Everything will be recycled for the same purpose over and over again, purpose of washing and purpose of drinking or consumption in the house. Thanks for listening.